What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What you gonna do when the show...
Hello, this is Matt Bergman, and you're listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians podcast. Episode 12, is it?
I believe so.
Yeah. I'm here tonight with Jared Schneiderman.
What's up, man?
Hey, no. How you doing, dude?
Pretty good, man. How are
Cool,
you doing?
Cool. Pretty good. Can't complain. Just got back from PorcFest yesterday.
Nice. How was that?
So it was pretty rad. So, yeah, we're recording this, and we normally record on Sunday nights. This week we're recording on Monday night. Because yesterday I wasn't sure what time I was going to get back. I ended up getting back around I think like 5:30 p.m.
Oh wow!
We left New Hampshire at about I think it was like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Damn.
So yeah, it was about a 10-hour drive, and we stopped at like a Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, and then we did like a couple restroom stops. But for the most part, it was 10 hours straight. You know, we didn't even stop to eat anywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Did you just drive in a car or take a bus or?
Yeah. I went up with John Vibes and some other peeps, and we got a rental car.
Oh, okay.
So it was like an SUV, so it was nice and roomy.
Nice.
And this is my third year going to PorcFest. The first two, you know, like my first year, it was pretty nuts because you know, I actually tried to go 2 years in a row before my first year I ended up going, which is this, I don't know if this is confusing or I'm just confused because I'm a wee bit blazed. but so yeah, it's on my third try I finally made it to PorcFest.
Right,
and
yeah.
it's just like with my first 2 years, it was, you know, rides fell through. Mm-hmm. It was just people, you know, were all about going, and then shit came up, and it was just uncanny. It just seemed like, you know, God did not want to see me go to PorcFest.
Yeah.
So, you know, by the time the third year came around, and this is PorcFest 10, I believe. Yep, 10. And so by the third year came around, once again, it's like a ride falls through. It was like the last week or something. It was like a week before my ride fell through.
Mm-hmm. After you'd already bought tickets?
Yeah, I'm not going to name any names, but anyways, so it was like a week before.
Yeah.
And I'd already taken off. I was psyched as hell, and it's like, okay, this year I'm going to make it there no matter what. So I sent
Hello,
out.
high water.
Yeah, so I sent out. You know, on Punk Rock Libertarians, I got on the Facebook page, and I was just asking anybody for a ride. Mm. So, and then, well, it was messed up too, because like when I found out like the day before we were going to leave, actually. So it's basically like a lot of people would leave for PorcFest on like Saturday, and then get there on Sunday morning, or you know, some people might leave on Sunday and then get there Sunday night if they leave on Sunday morning.
Now, does it go Sunday to Sunday or?
Well, I know. I believe people actually people can get there. I've heard like a few days before and stay a few days after. Oh, really? But yeah, I believe it starts on Sunday morning. But a lot of people get there like, you know, the Saturday night before, just take the trip on Saturday.
Right.
You know, especially like vendors and stuff.
Right, just so they have time to get shit set up before everybody shows up.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
right.
Just get situated in. Excuse me. So, anyways. So, you know, I was trying frantically last minute to find a ride, and then it's basically like a bunch of people were like, oh, well, if I would have known a couple of days ago, and it's like, yeah, you know, because it's fairly easy to find a ride because you've got like 1,500 people going.
Wait, did you do it on real
country.
short notice?
Yeah, it was like I told you, man, my ride backed out like the day before.
Oh, okay.
My ride, no names. He was just like, it was something like, oh, I need new tires for my car. It's like, dude, you're just figuring this out the day before, you know? It was just like, It was something like that. And then, anyways, so like a bunch of people were like, oh, well, you know, I could have got you, but you know, I left yesterday. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then one dude, Carl from Connecticut, you know?
Carl from Connecticut.
Yeah, he was like, well, I'll tell you what, if you can meet me in Connecticut on like, I think it was like Wednesday at like 6 p.m. at this location near like the bus station, he's like, I can give you a ride. So, right away I'm looking up like bus tickets and shit. So like I take a bus from Baltimore to New York and another bus from like New York to Connecticut. And I arrive at in Connecticut at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
So you're talking about this is what you did this year?
No, this is like the first year that I went to PorcFest.
Okay.
Which I thought was a pretty neat story.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I end up there like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And then, so I've got like 3 hours to kill, right?
Mm.
So, I'm walking around this town or whatever, and they're having a free concert that day. And I think it was something like, the Wallflowers were playing or something. Mm. And I didn't even stick around for that because I think they started after I was going to leave. But there was like bands playing and stuff. And it was shortly after the Boston bombing, so they had like ramped up security and stuff.
Yeah.
And like
tanks rolling through the streets.
Yeah, actually hanging out on this street where this concert is, I actually had like I was surrounded by a bunch of like cops, and they were asking me to like see in my bag.
Really?
Yeah. So I could
What,
sit
did you
there.
just have a backpack on?
No, I had like a duffel bag.
A duffel bag.
Yeah. And so they're like. So anyways.
Did you have substances in there?
Oh, no.
Okay.
So eventually I was like, they like confronted me and they said they wanted to see my bag. And, at first I was like, why, you don't have a warrant, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, you know what we're looking for? Remember the Boston bombing? He's like, basically like, kind
just
of like
using it as an excuse.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, remember the fucking Fourth Amendment? Oh no.
What's that?
Doesn't pertain anymore. So anyways, whatevs. Like, I didn't fight it too hard. I just let them look in my bag. And then they didn't even look in it. They actually let me just open it up in front of them. They didn't even stick their hands on it. So, and it's like, I knew I didn't have anything in there. I didn't have any bud or anything. Like, I didn't have to worry about anything.
Right.
And it maybe it was something that I could have fought, or maybe I could have ended up like going to prison with a bunch of bogus charges and then having to fight a trial so many states away. So, I just took the easy road out, and I knew I didn't have anything in there, and I just showed them what was in my bag. So, anyways, so then I catch a ride with Carl from Connecticut, and we leave at like 6 p.m., and then we ended up making it to New Hampshire. It was like maybe like 11:30 or like 12:30 at night. It was like way after dark, so it's as late as hell. We've got to get there, and then basically figure out where we need to go. And then we set up camp, and it's like midnight or whatever, and we're setting up camp. So we have to pitch a tent in the dark,
They don't have any lights set up?
I forget how we did for lighting. We might have just used flashlights or something, but we had to pitch a tent in the dark.
That sucks.
And set up camp. And then we went around, and we stumbled across like a campsite where this dude was just like had like a bar on his campsite.
That's awesome. Like in his tent?
Yeah, he had a huge tent. It was almost more of like a canopy. It was just like a huge tent.
Yeah.
And there was like seating and like, beanbag chairs, like a sofa.
That's badass.
Yeah, like a fake fireplace.
Was he charging money for it?
He was charging money for the drinks.
Right.
But he provided a neat atmosphere, and he can make a lot of drinks.
That's cool.
Yeah, he basically had a liquor store on him. And he said he had a sign up, but somebody came up and then said, you can do this as long as you just take the sign down.
Yeah.
So it's basically, it's all cool as long as you're not like advertising it too hard,
Yeah.
So, anyways, so that was really cool. And that was like,
wait, who wasn't letting them advertise? PorcFest?
Well, I mean, Rogers Campground, because it is an illegal activity, and at any rate, people will turn a blind eye to things. You just can't have up fucking signs advertising things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's fairly obvious when you walk up into a speakeasy.
Oh yeah.
And word of mouth travels fast enough.
Right.
I was telling everybody about that place. You know what I mean? So, anyways, so that was pretty bomb, and that was like my first year there. So we were setting up. We got everything set up at like 1:00 in the morning, and then I'm hanging out at this tent speakeasy until the sun comes up.
That's awesome.
Just at points during that night, we might have walked down to the fire and hung out down there for a second, but I remember watching the sunrise in this speakeasy, talking to this I forget the dude's name. It was an older guy. He was like probably like in his 50s, and he's been living in New Hampshire for years because of the Free State Project. He loves it, and he's home there. And
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was just cool. It was an awesome first night at PorcFest. I think this year was actually the first PorcFest that I didn't pull an all-nighter like the first night there.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you just too tired, or?
Well, yeah, I think it was tired, and then like this year we got a hotel room. So, I don't know how I feel about the hotel overall. I can tell you that there are definite pluses to a hotel room. So, one of the pluses to the first plus that comes to mind to a hotel room at PorcFest is, you get your own private bathroom, or you get to share a bathroom with whatever people you're sharing the room with.
Right.
Whereas if you're camping out, you're left to these little bathroom barns that are on the campground. There's 3 of them all together.
They don't have porta potties?
There's porta potties too, but I mean, when it comes to showering in the morning, brushing your teeth, running water, all that shit, you probably don't want to shower in a porta potty. I'm not sure how you would do that, but
I don't think you would.
Yeah, I don't think one would.
No.
So, anyways, so yeah, the private bathrooms are definitely a plus of the room, and then another plus of the room is, I feel like anytime I'm sleeping outside, it's just so hard to sleep when the sun's up. Yeah. So a lot of times I might find
especially when you're in a tent and then the tent gets really hot and
you're not going to bed till late, and then you're waking up with the sun. I mean, so you're not getting much sleep at all. No. I got virtually no sleep at any PorcFest ever. I mean, this is the best one yet.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, I've had the same experience going to music festivals. I enjoy camping out, but when you can get a tent or when you can get a hotel and just be able to get as fucked up as you want and then sleep in the next day, not having to worry about the sun coming up or it getting too hot to stay asleep. It's definitely got its benefits there.
It does. I'd say one disadvantage to the hotel room is when you're chilling in a tent, it's not much of a relaxing place, but when you're chilling in a hotel room, it's pretty relaxing. And that relaxingness is another disadvantage, because I felt like I was hanging out in there more than I would have been hanging out in a tent. So I feel like if I was camping out in a tent, I would have experienced more of PorcFest.
Yeah. Plus you have neighbors you can go over to and talk to. And
yeah, I kind of wish I had a tent there so I could sleep out in the tent some nights and go back to the hotel room and shower.
Now, how did you get from the hotel room to the campground? Was there a shuttle or was it walking distance?
Oh, it's total walking distance. Actually, nice. My hotel room to Agora Valley, which is where most of the business is being done as far as selling Liberty swag, books, and various food vendors that just really kick ass, was actually closer than the distance of my campsite the first 2 years to Agora Valley.
Yeah.
And my hotel was also way closer to the pavilion and the major tents.
That's cool.
So
you could get shit faced and just stumble back to your hotel.
Yeah, or you could do that to your tent either. I mean,
I'm just saying.
Neither really affects your getting of shit faced.
Right. I'm just saying there are cases where getting a hotel means you need to have someone stay sober so they can drive you back.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a hotel on the campground. I stayed at Rogers Hotel. Right. There's other hotels in the area too. Personally, I wouldn't want to stay at another hotel. I wouldn't want to be at a place, because I actually, one night there was a dude who I think he said he came from New York, and it was 4:00 in the morning, and he was looking for a ride back to his hotel.
Fuck.
Yeah. And
that's not a spot you want to be in. Is there not Uber up there?
I don't know if there is or not. I believe he called a taxi or Uber or something, and then they said they couldn't send anybody out. So
oh shit. At that point, I'd probably just find somewhere to crash, under a canopy or something.
Yeah, I kindly directed him to the radio room, and so the radio room is kind of a it's kind of a room right in the center of PorcFest, and they record live radio broadcasts at PorcFest all day, every day, basically, for a bunch of different radio shows.
Right.
And when you're in that room, it's a pretty big room with, I'd say, maybe, I'm going to guess, 50 chairs in it. And then up front, there's the place where they broadcast and stuff. But you could just sit in the back of that room and you could go to sleep if you wanted to. And nobody's going to kick you out of there.
Yeah.
It's libertarians,
Right. You're not bothering anybody.
Yeah, nobody's going to kick you out of there. And that's probably the best place to crash on a whim at PorcFest if you don't, if you need to find some safe building to crash in.
Right.
So...
That's cool. Is
So,
that
yeah.
is that was that running like 24/7 that radio time?
I think they probably stop around like midnight or 3 a.m. I'd imagine.
Midnight or 3 a.m.
Well, I'd imagine. I think as far as like from what I gather, it's as long as they have people to do shows at different times, they're going to be open.
Right.
So I mean, my guess is if they had enough radio shows doing stuff, they would they
So
do
they
it.
have, like,
They
Free
do it
Talk
at like
Live
5 a.m. in
there?
the morning. Yeah, Free
Like
Talk
all
Live.
the LRN.FM shit.
Exactly. Yep.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So who'd you see there, like speaker wise?
Speaker wise, well, I can tell you, Jeffrey Tucker was there. I didn't make it over to watch him.
Okay.
I like Jeffrey Tucker. Jeffrey Tucker
Yeah, I like
rocks.
him too.
I'd go as far as to say I love Jeffrey Tucker. I think he's a really cool dude. He's
You
a
guys should get
charismatic.
married.
I'm sorry, was that supposed to be funny?
Yeah.
Okay. So no, I think he's awesome, and it just so happens like whenever he was speaking, like I was probably off somewhere like smoking pot, hanging out with
So would
people
you say you were
on
high like
LSD.
95% of the time or 100%?
95 or 100. Yeah, I did sleep in there sometime,
Okay.
but yeah, it was. I mean, it was blazing all day, every day, pretty much.
Nice.
So. And I mean, there's lots of fun going on there. Between like Molly or like LSD.
Oh, yeah?
yeah. I mean,
Nice.
there's just lots of stuff going on, lots of craziness.
Was it easy to find that kind of stuff?
It's easy enough, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm. So I mean, it's like if somebody suspicious like you came up to me, I would think that you're an agent. No, I'm just fucking around. But no, I mean, it's funny though because people will get paranoid up there. I guess libertarians can kind of get paranoid, or I mean,
you
you can get
think?
paranoid. Well, I mean, you have reason to too, because if you're at like a gathering like this with so many revolutionaries in the same place, which I mean. I think PorcFest has obviously picked up some steam throughout the years.
Yeah.
I believe I heard CNN was there this year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah.
So
I mean,
you think there's a chance there's some like undercover provocateur type people?
well, I mean, I did hear that in the past that they saw like agents taking pictures of like license plates and shit.
License plates?
Yeah. Uh-huh. And it seems to be pretty common knowledge. So, I mean, it's.
That's weird.
I mean, who knows, man? I mean, we've already proven the government's spying on like fucking everybody listening to every phone call, so.
But I mean, they can't really do anything there because it's private property, right? I mean, they can take pictures or whatever, but they can't just like bust somebody for selling drugs there, can they?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's private property, right? And they have to be given permission to go on that private property.
I mean, my guess is they totally could, if they bought a ticket, and they got in. I mean, I don't see. Basically, one thing that
Don't
they
know. Don't you need a warrant? Wouldn't you need a warrant to do that sort of thing?
to buy a ticket.
I mean, not to buy a ticket, just to actually arrest somebody on there without permission. You know what I mean?
I don't know if we have
I don't
like
know how
a
that shit
lawyer
works.
that we could call or something right now.
I don't know, dude. I just know, like, for example, like at Bonnaroo, they have a special deal with the cops where, like, they don't let them into certain areas. They don't let them do certain things because it's all private property. At least that's how I understand it. I could be completely wrong about that. And I know people have gotten busted there, so
I think at a place like Bonnaroo, I think you might be a little bit more inclined to have a deal like that. Like I know at PorcFest, I've heard that there are like friendly people in the town, or the cops are friendly because the whole town gets so much revenue from this.
yeah.
It's like a high traffic thing. I know it's the best the campground does every year. So
And there's never any like crime or anything like that.
But one thing I also noticed this year, like PorcFest, like they were tip top on their security too. I mean, they had guys like when you enter the park, like they give you like magnets to put in your car to show that you're a part of PorcFest. You know what I mean?
To like put on your windshield?
Like just like a magnet to put on the side of your car to say that you're a part of
on the
PorcFest.
side.
Yeah. So I mean,
Could someone just take it off your car and put it on their car?
I mean, yeah, they could, but I mean, it's still. I mean, dude, it's not like fucking Fort Knox, dude. It's a fucking campground in Bumfuck, New Hampshire.
Well, yeah,
But I do feel like they go to, like they talk to everybody who's coming in, and if you don't have your like PorcFest wristband on, and you had to pay like $100 to get if you got your ticket that week,
Yeah.
you're not fucking you're just gonna get hassled a bit, And you almost get hassled, like these guys are like dick cops. But then when you think about like why they're hassling you, I mean, they're not sticking their fingers up your butt or anything. So rest assured. But
So wait, they're just saying if you don't have your ticket, you can't get in.
no, well, they're just asking like, where's your wristband? What's going on with that? Well, you don't have your ticket. Why don't you have your? Why haven't you purchased your ticket yet? Oh well, it's too late in the night. They're not open right now. I mean, you can get past them and stuff, but you're getting questions, and they're
You can get
kind
past them without buying a ticket.
If you go there late enough in the night and the office is not open and there's no way for you to buy a ticket, you can pass them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like they're not going to say no. You can't sleep on the campground. You got to sleep on the side of the fucking road and come back tomorrow morning.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like
I mean, they wouldn't do that at any like music festival. They wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you don't have a ticket. Yeah, that's fine. You just come on in.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely nice, dude. It's PorcFest,
Right.
but I mean, like my point is, I feel like they were like a little more up on the security this year.
Gotcha.
And part of that might be wanting to get people to pay for their tickets because I know in past years, I've heard people complain that some people weren't buying tickets, and I'm sure there's definitely
Well, I mean, it's not really fair.
Yeah. No, dude, I'm not talking any shit at all.
Yeah.
It's totally fair. But one cool thing about PorcFest is if you buy your ticket like 6 months in advance or whatever, you get a much cheaper ticket. I believe you can get them for as cheap as $50. They might even be cheaper if you get them before a certain date.
That's not bad. $50 for 7 days. About something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but even if you're going there and you're paying $100, it's not that. See, I never buy the ticket in advance because I've seen too many fall through.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I must never do that for anything. I have to be like 100% solid on my transportation and being able to get off for work and all that before I make a commitment.
I don't know. So
Even though you
I
can
usually
always
make
sell it later, but
well, I guess. I mean,
PorcFest might be a little more difficult.
No, I mean PorcFest. I know you can sell it later too. I mean, especially if you do stuff with like Bitcoin and stuff, and actually just coming fresh back from PorcFest, it's got me thinking about Bitcoin again. It's something I've never jumped on, but it does totally interest me. But
I have some Bitcoin.
I've still got like a like a 1990s flip phone, so I think I got to jump into the 2000s and get a decent phone before I can do some of the Bitcoin stuff. From what I gather,
yeah, it's pretty much a requirement.
But,
at least for like regular access and portability.
Yeah, man.
So who did you actually see? You said you didn't see Jeff Tucker. Did you see?
I saw Lynn Albright speak. She's Ross Ulbricht, the creator, founder of the Silk Road's mother.
Right.
And she was just basically talking about the Silk Road case. And she put out a lot of interesting information that a lot of people might not know. I mean, it's really like the government. What it all comes down to, specifics. I was blazed as fuck, so I'm not going to delve too much into them. I can tell you, I will be posting a video of her speaking on PRL as soon as it comes up to YouTube, straight from PorcFest. So, but basically, the gist of it is, the government, like in the Silk Road trial, like omitted a lot of information, and they also just like threw the book at Ross,
right?
Because this is a guy, it's not like he was selling the drugs. It's kind of like. He created, we'll just say he created the Silk Road, right? Yeah. So that's like Ross Ulbricht to Silk Road is Mark Zuckerberg to Facebook, right? Now, how many drugs do you suppose are sold? How many times is the deal worked out on Facebook, do you think?
Oh, I mean, a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I would love to see if they could get figures on that, which is probably impossible, but I imagine
exactly.
I would
love to see it because I might have people knocking at my door. But I mean, it's the gist is, it's like, nobody's doing this to Facebook. Nobody's doing this to the asshole who founded Twitter. I don't know. He might be a nice guy. I don't know who founded Twitter. Yeah. But nobody's doing this to like Instagram. I'm not sure if that would happen on Instagram.
Sure.
But I mean, they're basically just going after Ross. And it's Silk Road. I feel like it's something that everybody should be talking more about because it's people are every day more and more people are just waking up to the fact that prohibition was stupid with alcohol and it didn't get any smarter with marijuana or any other drug.
Right.
So and what Ross Ulbricht did it's drugs have like always been sold, and in fact, since Prohibition, we've only had more of them.
Right.
So with Silk Road, the drugs were still being sold, but it was being sold like over the fucking internet. So I mean, you're not having like all the violence that that could possibly occur because it's being done safely over the internet. Silk Road was probably the safest place to get your drugs.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about going downtown to some back alley where some shady motherfucker is. He might sell you drugs or he might mug you. You don't know.
I mean, personally, I've never used Silk Road, and
I have. I know people that have.
Yeah, I mean, I do know people that have.
It's very effective.
Yeah, and
very awesome.
Yeah, I've heard only great things about it. And Ross Ulbricht, like one of the things his mom was saying, she was just like talking about how like he was such a strong libertarian, and I believe that she read a letter that Ross wrote to the people at PorcFest.
Really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean,
now did she speak at all to like the hitman accusations at all, or she didn't really want to bring that up?
She might have. I don't know. Like I've got might not have been there the entire time, dude.
Like mentally there.
No, it was a pretty crazy week,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's at PorcFest at any given time. There are 3 different things going on. At like there's like 2 tents in a pavilion, and then there are other tents that'll have activities like throughout the campground. And then on top of that, there's a bunch of like food vendors and swag vendors, and then you got the radio room. You've got all sorts of stuff going on, and sometimes you might just want to walk around, And it was the weather I thought was beautiful. So some of the people that I went there with thought it was a little cold. It's personally like during the day, it was like it gets hot enough to where you could almost break a sweat.
Oh yeah.
And then at night, by the time nighttime comes around, you're gonna at least want a jacket on. One night, I felt the need to put on pants, and that was because it was like 47 degrees in June. So
yeah, it's a little chilly. But then you also
I only knew that it was 47 degrees because I think Vibes looked at his phone.
Yeah.
If Vibes didn't look at his phone, I probably would have just left shorts on. I wasn't really freezing my ass off. I was just like, 47 degrees. I should probably put on pants.
Yeah.
And I brought a very light jacket, and I was cool. But I mean, then again, I was crashing in a hotel room too. So
right.
And everybody has varying tolerances of the cold. I think I was the most tolerant person that I went with. So.
That's cool, man. Did everybody else have a pretty good time? JJ?
Yeah, dude. It was, dude, it was an awesome trip. I mean, I can't think of a better person to go to PorcFest with than John Vibes. He's the fucking man. He was actually speaking about at PorcFest. He was talking about his...
he was a speaker there, too?
Yeah, man. He spoke there last year, I believe, at a couple different tents.
Oh, that's badass.
But this year he spoke as well, and I attended his speech. It was very awesome. He was basically talking about his book that he wrote with Derek Bros, and I got a copy of that while I was there.
Nice.
And he was talking about that and answering questions, and his book's really cool because his book basically talks about like spirituality and anarchy. It's called The Conscious Resistance, and it basically just talks about like spirituality and anarchy. Whereas you hear a lot about like anarchy, but those people are more or less talking in rationality as opposed to like spirituality.
Right. They're talking about economics or philosophy or something like that.
Yeah, and spirituality, like Vibes, it defines as like anything that you experience that isn't of the 5 senses. Like everything else is spirituality. So it's pretty interesting, And I definitely recommend checking the book out.
Have you read it yet, or?
No, but I've heard a lot about it. Like I've seen. I just got the copy the other day, and I didn't have time to read it at PorcFest. But right. It's definitely an interesting concept, and I don't think it's ever been done like this before. Jeffrey Tucker actually, they sent him a PDF. Vibes was saying like he didn't expect to hear anything back, but then he heard something back a couple days later, and then Tucker wrote like a preface for the book.
What's that? He wrote a preface for it?
I believe so.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I had seen that he wrote like a review on, I guess on his blog or whatever, and posted it to Facebook. But yeah, that's awesome. So I'm guessing Derek Bros was also there.
Derek Bros was not there. That was a shitty guess, dude.
Oh shit, man.
No, Derek Bros was supposed to come, but he just couldn't make it out this time.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does. I was looking forward to rooming with Derek.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've seen some of his videos online. He's a pretty interesting dude.
Yeah, we had fun nonetheless, and Alexis Schlegel actually showed up on Saturday. So,
oh, really? He did?
Yeah, we were hanging with him on Saturday.
That's cool.
And yeah, it was a totally badass PorcFest. Yeah, it's just really just like any other PorcFest in that way. It was a totally badass PorcFest.
Nice.
So speaker wise, Lynn Albrecht was totally fucking awesome. Julie Borowski was there. She was awesome. I wanted to say hi and introduce myself, but she had so many, she was just barraged with fans.
Really?
Anytime that I saw her. So I'm like, okay, I'll say hi another day.
Yeah.
So, but that was another highlight. And it was just there was really just so much stuff going on all day, and you're just walking around and you're meeting people from all over.
Were there people from other countries there?
I'm sure there is. Every time
Probably some Canadians, right? I mean, that's not too far.
Yeah, I believe I did talk to some Canadians. Other countries, I know. First year I was there, I remember meeting some dude from Australia.
That's cool.
Yeah, but and I'm sure there were people there from other countries.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't talk to as many this year.
Right.
But I mean, there was just for me, it's my third year going now consecutive. So I saw a lot of the same faces, and I saw a lot of new faces, and I'm not sure what the official numbers were. I would guess around 1,500.
1,500.
That's what I would guess.
Well, that's a record, right?
There might have been a few more people there last year, but I don't know what the official numbers were. Maybe there were more. I don't know.
Huh.
So.
That's still, I mean, that many people showing up just for Liberty. That's pretty dope.
No, yeah, I mean, dude, they've been doing PorcFest for this is the 12th year, I believe I said.
Yeah.
And then I think the first few years it was just a weekend. But it was so popular, and people just demanded a week, so then they started doing a week.
That's awesome.
So, but with PorcFest, though, not everybody goes for the whole week.
Right.
It's basically, if you go there for the first...
That's kind of cool, though. I mean, having it the whole week, people have the option of, okay, if they just want to go and, head out, Thursday night, they don't have to take off the whole week of work.
Yeah, I mean, you get to decide, how serious you're going to be about PorcFest,
Right.
It's basically...
Are you going balls deep, or you just get the tip in?
Well, I mean, yeah. And if you're going to go, I mean, I think it's universally known that you definitely want to be there for that last weekend.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go there, be there any 2 days, most people are going to be there on, Friday and Saturday, and those are going to be the biggest guests.
Right. Makes sense.
A lot of people show up on
was
Thursday or
was
Wednesday.
there this year?
We showed up on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Molyneux was not there.
Okay. Just curious.
But, of course, hanging out with libertarians, smoking bud with libertarians,
Yeah.
discussing philosophy with libertarians, you're going to have plenty of people talking about stuff in Molyneux.
Mm-hmm.
I did see Larkin Rose was there.
Did he speak?
I don't think Larkin Rose goes anywhere where he doesn't speak. So I'm assuming he did, but I personally I didn't hear him speak.
Yeah.
I did see a video of him speaking at a rock about anarchy with Stephen Kinsella, but Kinsella didn't seem to be talking much.
No.
So in that video, at least, I watched the first half of it.
Did you catch Kinsella, or did you just see the video?
Oh no, I definitely caught Kinsella. Kinsella is for me, the idea of intellectual property. I got into it I think 3-4 years ago, and it's ever since I've just been intrigued with the idea of living in a world where ideas are free,
mm-hmm.
Where thoughts shared are no one's property.
Right.
And it's if you don't want to share your ideas with other people, just keep them to yourself. But once you share them, they're out there. They should be open source and free to whoever once you share them.
Right.
you know. Because, but I mean, intellectual property, you know, that we could have like a whole episode about that. You know, who knows?
Yeah,
one day we should get Kinsella to come on and talk
That'd
about
be
it.
awesome.
You know,
Yep.
and you know he probably would because he loves talking about it.
Right.
You know, one thing that was cool about his speech, you know, like he got up and Carla Garrick from the Free State Project introduced him, and she made the usual jab at Kinsella where it's like, well, Kinsella's a copyright lawyer, but he doesn't believe in copyright, you know, ha ha ha. And he's just like, yeah, but you wouldn't rag on like me if I was like a defense attorney who was like defending people convicted for drug crimes and who didn't believe in the drug war.
Right.
You know, it's just like,
He just uses it as a platform to attack copyright.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's an expert.
Yeah, I believe his speech was like, we have it posted on PRL, actually. I posted it earlier. I believe it was like intellectual property, the root of all evil.
Yeah.
And he himself admits the title's a little exaggerated, but I mean, it's a pretty important topic that, I mean, even myself, like I didn't think about until like 3 or 4 years ago much, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe it was 4 or 5 now. But I mean, it's like, I didn't think about it much until that point. And, but, you know, ever since I really got to like, you know, kind of like sit down and like hammer those ideas out, I've just been totally intrigued with abolishing it because, you know, I think it is a form of slavery. And I think the term intellectual property is just false in itself because, you know, ideas can't be property. And I feel like it's given that term to somehow validate the ideas. And I feel like libertarians hear the word property and they think, oh, I believe in property rights, so I've got to defend intellectual property.
Right.
But, you know, it's not real property. If I steal your car, you know, I've got your car, you don't. You know, that's theft. If I steal your shirt, it goes for the same way.
I mean, don't you think it's better to call it intellectual aggression? Because, I mean, that's essentially what it is, right? I mean, if intellectual property is a real thing, then it's just an excuse for aggression. Right?
I mean well, that depends on your defense. That depends on your definition of aggression, but it's sure as hell not property.
Right.
I mean, it's just not property.
I'm just saying, like, you have copyright law, which is a gun pointed at you, and if it's not actually defending property, then it's just aggression, right? Doesn't that?
Okay. Yeah.
Doesn't that follow essentially?
Yeah. I mean, that could be one way of defining it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so Kinsella to me is like always interesting, and I've seen him do like a number of like hour-long discussions on YouTube, you know, because he does a lot of these.
Yeah.
But it was great to just like hear it in person, and I feel like he's even nailing down the case harder, you know, the more he talks about it, and you know, I really dug that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's also some music there this year. Jordan Page played as usual, and there was some other bands too, and you know there was also some dance parties. Mm-hmm. And
were there like DJs too?
You know, there may have been, but I'm not much of a dancer. I've got to be like so messed up to dance. You know, it just hasn't happened at a PorcFest.
I got you.
Although PorcFest is crazy, it's you haven't been able to catch me dancing.
That'll be the goal for next year.
Maybe. I will not say never, but it hasn't happened yet. So
last week you guys talked about Minds.com for a little bit.
Yeah, Minds.com?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's important enough where we should bring it up again because it's only getting more popular and bigger. And
yeah, I mean,
better.
I'd be down for bringing it up like every week. It's really, I mean, because like, you know, I believe I said last week, you know, I signed on, I made a personal account first, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then like the next day, I made a Punk Rock Libertarians account, and then you know I shared a few articles on punkrocklibertarians.com talking about Minds, and so far I think we've got like 60 some subscribers so far. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's pretty cool for like just getting on there.
Right. And so for those of you that didn't listen to the last podcast, Minds.com is a new social network that's sort of seeking to take the place of Facebook, or at least be a better version of Facebook that offers privacy. It doesn't fuck with your news feed. It'll, you know, give you the content that you want to see when you want to see it. It's more fair as far as just like how you get reach with your page, how you get reach with your posts.
Well,
and it's open source.
Fair is a relative term. I mean, who's to say Facebook isn't fair if you're paying for it?
Yeah.
I think what really pisses people off about Facebook, myself included, I can say this is what pisses me off. Facebook started out giving you like a whole bunch more reach. It showed you everything that your friends were posted, and then once it reeled everybody in, it started to get shitty. And once everybody was already there,
right?
Who's to say that Minds won't do this? I don't know. I mean, hopefully, since they're basing their whole thing on like how they're not doing this, they won't do that. And if they're able to succeed by doing this. I think it'll really just nail it down in the market. This is what people want. Now, as far as it overtaking Facebook, Facebook's a household name that, it's just taken years to build up. At the same time, I do think Facebook doesn't have as many people on it now. I mean, if I had to guess that they did have on it 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've read stats that it has decreased in popularity.
I mean,
I know especially with
I know a lot of people that were in there for a long time, posted daily and left.
Yeah.
Like
I
after
know
it got
especially
lame.
like I talk to like younger people, like
in the past couple years,
early 20s or even younger than that, and like a lot of them are like, nah, I don't fuck with Facebook. Like I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. It's just I mean, people are just tired of like not seeing their friends' shit, not seeing, all the pages they like and. People get frustrated by that, and they look for other avenues.
I know I get frustrated by it, and if I wasn't doing punk rock libertarians, who knows if I would still be on Facebook or not. I sure as fuck wouldn't be on there as often, because it's like, in a lot of ways, it's still the best that we have, but Minds is better. You just got to get people over there. You know?
I mean the only problem with Minds right now is it's just not the user base isn't as big as Facebook's, but. It's quickly growing, right? Exactly.
It's basically like, if you go there, they will build it. And they're building it right now. And the cool thing about Minds is basically people and pages get 100% reach. So everything you post, it's everybody has a chance of seeing it. Whereas on Facebook was never 100% reach. It was, I mean, it was a much better reach than it was now, but it was never 100. This is like just total information boner. It's you're getting everything full frontal.
Just a load of information.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and they also have like encrypted messaging that you can set up. So anybody that has privacy concerns, we all know Facebook isn't doesn't have the best reputation for not giving away your information.
Do they have something yet for like transferring Bitcoin?
On Minds there is some stuff to do with Bitcoin too as well.
That's cool.
It's so I mean I've been messing around with Minds here and there for like the past week, and it's only been getting better. And I'm trying to post on a consistent basis over there, and I'm just really hoping for the best. More people just need to come over and experience it, and I think we've potentially got something going on great with Minds. Definitely.
I mean, it definitely seems to be doing a lot better than all the other attempts at taking down Facebook or competing with Facebook. I mean, like Google Plus failed. LO, I haven't even heard anything about them in like months.
I don't think I ever signed up for LO. It was I debated it.
We have an account on there. We have a PRL account, but I mean,
see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I posted maybe a couple articles, but there's no one on there. It's kind of geared toward it seems to be geared toward like hipsters and shit. So
I mean, like,
I don't know.
I look at it like this way. Like, I think Minds has already showed me that there's enough people on there to just keep posting.
Yeah, it's worth your time.
And I think it has the potential, and I think there will either way. I think there will be a lot more people on Minds.
Yeah,
more whether it's more people than Facebook. Who knows? Time will tell.
But I mean, do you really need the amount of people that are on Facebook?
No, that's my other point. Is say this, dude. Say if like right now, if we post on Facebook, we could have like varying reaches on our post. Some of our posts, some of our posts might only hit less than 1,000 people with 100,000 people on our page.
Right. So less than 1%.
Yeah, that's how sucky the Facebook reach can be.
Right.
But say if on Minds, like I've seen, there's a few pages on there that already have close to 2,000 subscribers. So, and even those pages, could get better on Minds right now. We could get a better reach than we're getting on some of our posts on Facebook with only less than 2,000 subscribers.
Right.
Because you're getting 100% reach.
Right.
So, I mean, basically,
assuming that everybody logs on and checks their feed.
Well, I mean, dude, what are the major complaints about Facebook? Once again, there's like the privacy, and there's like just the not seeing post.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And I guess people complain about advertising on occasion. But
well, those are the main things. Personally, the advertising's never bothered me.
No.
I mean, I'm not paying for it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The thing that bothered me was that, they changed the way that they were doing things after they reel people in. So, I mean, that kind of pisses you off, when you've known something better and then you lose it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, but I mean, all that does is leave, the more shit they do wrong, that gives another company the chance to do that right. So,
very true,
and
man.
hopefully, Minds will stick with that and not turn to the dark side.
Another thing about Minds too, I could see it being more popular amongst libertarians.
Yeah.
And even the young in that matter, because I mean, the young, even the youth in that matter, because I think millennials in general are looking for more privacy. I think Edward Snowden opened up a lot of people's eyes, and I think millennials in general do seem to be interested more and more in privacy, and I think libertarians especially. So I think let me see. It's my premonition that punk rock libertarians will do well on Minds. You guys should get on there, make an account. It literally takes like 10 seconds to make an account. It's super easy to update your profile. It's like similar to Facebook, but even more dumbed down. Yeah. So, and it's once again, if you get on there,
it's definitely way more intuitive, I think, than Facebook. Even with like the early interface, that's still not like 100% polished. Like I still feel like I like it better than the way Facebook is set up. It's more simplified. It's more dumbed down, you could say. It's just easier for like the average person to log on and
to just get right on and know what
the
fuck you're doing. And especially it's similar enough to Facebook to where like if you've viewed Facebook before, it's easier to figure out Minds.
Exactly.
So I mean, I don't know. For me, it's giving me everything that I want, except for we need to get more and more people over there. And like I said, that's easy to do. You won't be disappointed as far as like what they have to offer, the definite upgrades to Facebook. It's the trick is after you get over there, then we got to get your friends over there and then their friends. But I think it's definitely happening. It's definitely happening. I think it's going to be very popular with libertarians. So I'm just all about Minds right now.
Right on, man. So go to minds.com, right?
Yep, minds.com, and then if you go minds.com/punk rock libertarians, you can subscribe to us.
Sweet.
Totally. One thing I want to put out too, you can also subscribe to Punk Rock Libertarians on YouTube. You can also hit us up on Twitter. So what else? We got Google Plus going, and we never update our LO, but apparently one of those exists.
Yeah. So there's many avenues to hear what we have to say.
Totally, bro.
Cool. So I guess we can switch gears now, and if you want to talk about the whole Confederate flag issue, I mean, I know it's sort of been beaten to death at this point, but I figured we'd at least hit on it. What are your thoughts on that, man?
I think it's funny because like everybody's like, oh, Confederate flag represents slavery. It's like, oh, wasn't slavery done under the American flag first?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, how many atrocities have been done under the American flag?
Right.
Between like slaughtering the Indians, Japanese internment camps, and fucking just like, so many things have been done under the American flag. I mean. And it's basically, it's one of those things, dude. I don't have a big boner for the Confederate flag. I don't wear Confederate flag t-shirts. I don't have a Confederate flag license plate. I don't have Confederate flag boxers. But
what about a man thong?
I'm not a big fan of flags, period. And that's why I go straight towards the American flag. It's like, oh, slavery. But yeah, dude, everything that was, the slavery that was under that, was first legitimized, quote unquote, by the American flag, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I I think it's an issue more of like. It's more about like what it symbolizes. I mean, yes, like a lot of.
Okay, well, then let's talk about what else it symbolizes to me. Like, okay, you know, like I said, I don't have a boner for flags in general, so I wouldn't want to rock one. But one of the things I like about the Confederate flag was it's basically the Civil War. If you ask me, you know, and I want to, before I even say this, I want to say one of the reasons why I wouldn't want to wear a Confederate flag is because people see it and they automatically think racist, and I don't want to give off that vibe.
Yeah.
But one of the things that it means to me is, you know, the underdog rising up against, you know, tyranny. And, you know, slavery was tyranny, but slavery was allowed in the North as well. You know, and slavery was allowed by the North in some places after the war even fucking ended. So the Civil War was never about slavery. It was.
Well, I don't know if it's not.
It was an issue that was going on. Yes,
it was a major issue that was going on.
I mean, if you ask me, it should have been the major issue, but was it at the time? No, dude. It's both Lincoln and Jefferson Davis have been quoted as saying that the war wasn't about slavery. You know, at that time, you know, Lincoln was like one of the biggest racists ever. You know, nobody would have been able to justify a war in America at that time of white men killing white men to free black men. It just wouldn't have happened. You could not justify it at that time. Nobody was going to hear it. It's, you know, now further into the future, you can sell that lie to people because, you know, you're raised and you're brought up and you're told slavery is wrong. So yeah, of course you'd die to end slavery. But at that time, you know, it's even after the war, there was the fucking like 3-5 compromise and shit.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, black people were second-class citizens. Did you see all these white people dying for them? You know, granted, some white people did. You know, you had fucking John Brown.
Yeah,
you had avid abolitionists. Yeah. But it's the people in that period. I mean, whatever, dude. That was just hindsight is 2020. It was the way that those times were going. You were not going to have a war over freeing black people. It's the people over that period were not going to. There were some people that would do it, but I don't think your average person would.
Yeah.
And what it was more about, if you delve into it, it was about, you know, northern factories were getting southern resources for very cheap, and, you know, the South realized that they could sell, you know, overseas and get more for their resources. So you know the North was like, oh well, if you do that, you'll have to pay a tariff. So the South's like, okay, well, I'm not going to pay that tariff. You know, we're not going to pay that tariff. We're just going to leave the Union because at that point, every state technically had the right to secede.
Secede
From the Union.
Yeah.
But, you know, Lincoln was not going to let that happen because, you know, he was paid for by the, you know, it's no different in politics today. He was paid for by those, you know, big companies in the North, and he was going to advance their economic motives.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the biggest.
And it's not controversial, dude. It's the same thing that every other war is about. It's about money.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, I don't really have a problem with like a regular person with a Confederate flag sticker on the back of their car, or having a flag on their house, whatever. I don't necessarily think it belongs on a state capitol building. I don't see the reason for it. And I mean, it definitely, like, I understand maybe it's been distorted and maybe it's been hijacked by the, you know, the victors of the war to just like completely demean what the flag symbolizes. But
it's the history book's incentive to right the wrongs of the Civil War to make us look like the good guy. Like they're going to right the wrongs of every war to make us look like the good guy. But wars aren't always as they seem.
Right. No, and totally. But
and they usually aren't as they want them to look. Yeah.
But you can't deny that to a lot of people, especially black people, it does represent racism. Whether it's deserved or not. No, the fact of the matter is it does represent racism, and there really isn't any reason that it belongs on government property.
Oh, I've got a bomb for you. And it's basically like every word can be relative to definition to the listener. Every single word, you know? So, I mean, if you're going to decide that one word is offensive, I mean, basically every word could be offensive. You know, every flag could be offensive. And I've just pointed out how, you know, the American flag is probably worse than the Confederate flag just because the Confederate flag wasn't around for that long to really do some worse fucked up shit.
No, I mean, look, I posted on PRL. I was like, the more flags we take down, the better. You know, like, I don't like any flags.
That's libertarian streakhead points right there, dog.
Oh, shit. Yeah. I mean, unless it's the fucking Gadsden flag, but...
Yeah, word.
You know, but like any fucking national flag or even state flag, I mean, at the end of the day, it represents some degree of force.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
and it's basically like, you know, like, and if South Carolina or whoever wants to hang it, you know, I think that's up to South Carolina. That should be up to the people of South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I don't think it's.
I don't think it's up for the federal government
No.
to come in and take it down. And you know, I think other people in the midst can ostracize, but I mean, like they shouldn't have any say. And it's like I said. I mean, I think there is a certain level of dickishness into wearing the flag.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying everybody that wears the flag is a dick.
Or,
I mean,
yeah.
because dude, I can't possibly judge everybody's motives. I don't know what the fuck is inside of everybody's head. But
Right.
like I said, I can see other sides to the flag. I can see being an underdog. You know, I can see how like the North, like
Representing
just
secession,
the
representing
North and
states'
the
rights.
carpetbaggers,
Right.
like they totally fucked the South up after that war. The South was totally destroyed. You know, and you know, not everybody sees it as you know, racism and slavery. You know, there are other ways to look at it. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm not
But
gonna
here's-
argue.
Here's
well,
an interesting thing I
it's
heard.
everybody.
Yeah.
You know, people can have different perceptions of things. I think people have different perceptions of everything.
Yeah.
And to deny that there aren't these other perceptions out there is straight up fucking retarded. That's why I hate like all these conversations on my Facebook news feed about like, I'm gonna unfriend you if you wear a Confederate flag. It's like that's like the only time that I want to wear a Confederate flag, just to be like, dude, fuck, suck it. You know.
Yeah.
That's the only time. But at the same time, I don't even want to wear it then because like. I don't want to be like construed as a dickhead. I'm just pointing out that you know, things might not always be as they seem. You know, people can look at things different ways, and I'm just pointing out like another possible meaning. And I know people who look at it that way. You know, yeah. So that's my take on the Confederate flag. Are we all clear? Is there anything you want to throw in there?
I did hear something interesting. Are you familiar with Dan Carlin? He does like the Hardcore History podcast. He does another one that he does on like current events called Common Sense.
No.
He's pretty cool. I suggest anybody check him out. But he was having a conversation with Sam Harris, who I talked about last time on the podcast, and they were talking about a number of things. The war on terror, and then they ended up on the Confederate flag. And he sort of suggested that perhaps what they should have done was not necessarily get rid of the flag, but maybe update the flag, change the flag a little bit. Like he even said, and he was sort of half joking but half serious, like maybe putting like a picture of like chains breaking on it to represent that they were done with slavery. Like they want to get rid of the slavery aspect of it, but they want to maintain the Southern pride, the secession aspect of it, and all that. And you know, I thought that was interesting. I mean, is it necessary? You know,
I think that is interesting, and I do like the picture that I've seen. Have you seen the picture seen with like a Confederate flag with like a rainbow through it? Yeah. I thought that was fucking cool too.
Dude, I saw one. It was like a picture of a Confederate flag with a rainbow in the background, a swastika in the middle of it, McDonald's on the left, and Microsoft on the right.
I don't know. That's just insane, but
it was pretty crazy. But it just shows how like ridiculous like symbology can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even the swastika. Like now you see a swastika, it represents the Nazis, it represents evil. But at one point, it was a Buddhist symbol. You know, it's been a symbol of many cultures, and that's the thing with symbology is it can easily be co-opted by whoever has power. You know, in the case of the swastika, it was Hitler co-opted it, and it became the National Socialist Party symbol. In the case of the Confederate flag, you know, you could argue that the North took it and just made it a completely racist symbol. So,
yeah, man, and it's like basically, you know.
But what do you do? I mean, like, you're not going to fly a Nazi flag outside of your house and say, "Well, I'm just a Buddhist," you know.
And I mean, you know, I don't want to like even for 1 second think that I'm like I don't want anybody to think that I'm giving the South a pass on slavery.
No,
like,
of course not.
You know, I'm a person who, you know, I don't like to call like the founders the founding fathers because I think it sounds cultish.
Yeah.
And you know, my main problem with the founding fathers, you know, and before I even say this, I want to say, like, you know, I think that they created the best government that had probably ever existed up until that point, the most free nation that had ever existed to that point. If you were white, you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, they allowed slavery. You know,
Yeah.
So it's like even with the founders, like I mean, I don't see like, you know, why you've got all this worship around them. You know, like they talk about freedom a lot, but they own slaves.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
how much sense does that make? I mean, to me, not a lot. You know. You know,
Well, that's why
once
you
again, you know, you could say it was the time, and you can say like, you know, human beings were evolving, you know, blah blah blah. But you know, I think it's important to
Well, that's why
that
I'm
up.
against like worshiping, like just worshiping people in that way. Like, I mean, no matter how good you are of a person, you know, there's always going to be something about you that isn't necessarily that good, and people can always fall, and people can always have flaws, you know, and especially back then. I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, there was the times, but you know, you got to look at what the people said. You got to look at the good ideas that came about and kind of separate them from the person.
Yeah,
you know, it's like even like libertarian thinkers today. Like, there's a lot Stefan Molyneux says that I agree with. And then there's some shit that he says that I think is completely batshit crazy.
No, and
you know, and it's like if I was
think
like
the problem is
if I was like I don't like Stefan Molyneux, then I'd have to toss out everything he said. Instead, I'm just like I like this idea that he presented. You know.
No, and I definitely think the liberty movement, like, you know, I was at PorcFest, so I was around like a lot of libertarians all week. And, you know, I think that there is like a lot of talk of like, you know, so-and-so did this, you know, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And then so-and-so did this is messed up. And then, you know, and it's basically like, you know, these quote unquote celebritarians, they're,
Right.
you know, they're not perfect. They're human beings. You know, we're all going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know, like, you know, I try to be an awesome person. I try to be a nice person. You know, I try to make, you know, the best decisions. But, you know, every now and then, I mean, it's like, or maybe even often, you know, like I look back and I think, well, I could have handled this better. I could have handled this differently. I didn't say the right thing there, you know?
Right.
I didn't say the best thing that I could possibly say. And you're never going to be able to do that. Human beings are fallible. And then when you're like a quote unquote, like, you know, celebritarian, and you're kind of like, you've got people watching like your every like Facebook post or YouTube video or however you're fucking doing it, article, you know, you've got people, you know, constantly observing everything,
Right,
and then
just judging your every move.
And then you know a lot of people, and they're like large circles. So, you know, rumors start to circulate, whether they're true or false, who knows? But I mean, you're like under a microscope, and you've got all these people looking in, and you know, it's I think we tend to pick these people apart, you know, because we kind of like, you know, just like put them on a pedestal, you know, like some people might put like an athlete on a pedestal or whatever, you know, but I mean, it's important to remember that they're just human beings. And, you know, I don't think we want to judge people too hard, but I also don't think we want to give them a pass when they're doing fucked up shit.
No, I mean, it's definitely right to call people out. You know, I just have an issue when people can't separate the ideas from the person, or like the art from the person, in the case of like musicians. Like, a lot of people won't like certain artists or certain musicians because they're assholes.
Well, yeah,
You know what
dude,
I mean?
Whatever. I'm guilty of that, and I'll be the first to admit, like, you know, growing up, I used to dig on some Guns N' Roses. Now I hear Guns N' Roses, and I just hear Axl's voice, and it's so hard for me to dig a song because I know he's like such a fucking prick.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's going to be different. It's going to be, you know, some like, where's Morrissey? He's like a notorious, like, kind of like, see, I don't even want to call Morrissey an asshole. You could kind of call Morrissey an asshole, but I don't know. I kind of think like he's just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's
I
the word I'm
mean,
looking
look, you're
for?
welcome. I'm not saying, you know, you can't do that. I'm just saying, for me, like, I do that because I just want to just judge the music on its merits.
No,
like,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Kanye, and like, he's probably the biggest asshole in the world, publicly at least. I mean, I think it's mostly an act, but you know, I like his music, and I'm able to separate the music. In fact, I think part of his act or part of his like personality fuels the music, so I'm able to separate and just judge the music completely on its merits. And for me, I like it. You know?
Yeah, and dude, I totally get that. Totally get that. You know, I'm just saying sometimes it's definitely taxing when somebody's an asshole.
Oh
like,
yeah, no, for sure.
And there have
it's,
people
I mean,
that have
human
just
nature,
like beaten that asshole thing so far into the ground that it's like I just can't dig on their music.
No, I hear you.
You know, so, or at least not as much as, definitely at least not as much as I did. You
Right.
know?
No, I mean it definitely.
But I mean, there
it's
are times
understandable.
when somebody's such an asshole, the music's so good, it's like, who gives a shit? It's just fucking music, you know?
Right.
It's like, you know, to what like nth degree do you want to carry this? So if you agree with somebody in the slightest, you can't like their music,
Right.
you know? It just seems ridiculous, you know? Art's art, you know? Philosophy's philosophy, you know?
Right. So, How about that gay marriage ruling, dude? Now you can marry your lover.
Oh, is that supposed to be funny again?
You're not really getting behind my gay jokes today, are you?
No pun intended. I'm assured. Yeah. So, yeah, man, that's pretty badass. You know, I think as a libertarian, I'm with most libertarians, whereas I'd rather see the government, like all governments, out of marriage 100%. But, you know, if they are going to be involved, it's nice to see them be fair. You know, it's nice to see, like, the federal government pushing things along.
I mean, if there's going to be law, there should be equality.
At the same time, you know, I'm a little more. I'm also weary of states' rights, even though that this is a decision that benefits all people. You know, I'm in favor of this one personally. I'm still, you know, weary of any time the federal government tries to take, you know, states' rights away.
Yeah, but I think there's certain cases where, I mean, like if a state wanted to institute slavery, like you can't be like, well, it's state rights. You know what I mean? Like there's certain ethical things that I don't want to leave up to the states.
Well, you know, the bottom line is, like, I'm of the nature that you know, if it's good, if it's going to help people, you know, like, you know, I'm for it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep on states losing rights on this, and you know, there's talk of you know, concealed carry permit holders might gain some rights out of this.
Do you think there's any real momentum behind that, or is it just
you know, I think
an idea?
I think if like, you know, the NRA or somebody you know, got a lawsuit together, I think the Supreme Court would you know, ideally, if they were going to be consistent, they would be forced to, because basically here's how the gay marriage thing passed. You know, the Supreme Court said that now, since most states have legalized gay marriage, the remaining states shouldn't infringe upon the rights of those people. Mm-hmm. So, you know, since the idea is that most states have concealed carry permits, you know, the remainder of the states should have to, you know, abide by those.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, you know, it makes total sense. You know, if we are going to stay consistent to the precedent that was just set, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it seems sound. I mean, I'm not an expert on the judicial system in that sense, or constitutional law or whatever, but
and that was very disappointing to find that out, because that was my whole reasoning of asking you to do this. Snyderman, I figured, you know, you'd have a knowledge of the law. I figured that you would be a learned lawyer.
banking is another story, but
yeah. Oh, okay, sorry. some Austrian economics.
Yeah, I mean, that, you know, that would be cool if that, you know, if someone got the gusto together to bring that lawsuit, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I guess we will see, and we will talk about it when it does happen.
For sure.
Totally. So, yeah, I think that's about it for this week. We ran through an hour, and we'll see you guys next week. And until then, have a good one.
Take it easy.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What you gonna do when they show up in black suits on your street in army boots? Silence you. What you gonna say when they strip your rights away and the tax man makes you pay for every bit of sweat you fed today? We don't need to run and hide. We won't be pushed off to the side. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a